right, it appears we have regained our connection. I'm not exactly sure where we left off, but we'll back up to item 8 and just point out that Commissioner Leisman moved to acknowledge the Commissioners Granberg, Eaker, and Weir's continuing education, and I seconded, and the motion was approved unanimously. We are about to go to item 9. I need to interrupt for just a moment. During the lull, which was probably what, 3 or 4 minutes where we were offline, I received an email from Mr. Welch, who said that he complains that we have him muted, and he would like to read his comments or have us read them. Please read his comments. For the public, and I think everyone in the room knows, we set this up so that the public at large, no matter where you are in the world, could view the Commissioners Court on Zoom. But we've also arranged for access, one person at a time, to make public comment here at the courthouse. We've gone to great trouble to make that happen. It was my intent that, and understanding that if someone wanted to make public comment, they would be screened, they would be allowed to come into the Commissioner's courtroom, they would stand at that podium, make their comments, and then leave. Because we have Wi-Fi throughout the courthouse campus, that person would not then be excluded from viewing the rest of the meeting, because any laptop or phone device can pretty much access Zoom. So that's where we are. He's asking in real time for me to read aloud his comments. Again, I ask the Commissioners Court, what would you like me to do? Because you're the only ones really here, so I will be reading them to you, which is fine. And they've already been entered into Ms. Wallace, the county clerk's records. Now, I guess the argument would be, we do have our assistant county attorney in the back of the room who could advise us on this, but I guess the argument would be that by not reading it out loud to the world over the internet, that he was not properly allowed to read his comments.
I mean, they're going to be posted on the internet. You have the opportunity to come. I don't see any objection if you want to read them.
Yeah, well, I don't really want to take the time unless I need to. We have a lot going on in this particular time right now. To your point, and I don't know if you got caught on our broadcast, but to your point, when Ms. Walla prepares the proposed minutes, I suppose this will be attached, so it will be available online to the world. I'm not hearing a great cry to read it. Okay, then back to item 9, which involves the property insurance renewal questionnaire. What this is asking for is authorization to sign it once Ms. Swift has completed it with the assistance of the commissioners and others to make sure we get all the property properly classified, and then I would sign it, not before.
That's correct. It's due the end of the month.
Which we will not meet again before the end of the month, but you intend to have it done by the end of the month, and so this would just authorize me to sign it once you approve.
Correct.
I'll make a motion to authorize the county judge to sign the 2020 property insurance renewal questionnaire once Ms. Swift has it complete.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Weir, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 10 is a proclamation about Child Abuse Prevention Month that we normally do here in Blanco County. It's for the month of April.
I make a motion to proclaim, declaring April 2020 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Blanco County.
Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Granberg seconds. Discussion. In years past, I have read it aloud, and it's short enough that I could read it now. If you want to dispense with reading, it'll go in the record.
Go ahead and dispense with the reading.
All right. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 11 concerns the financial audit for the Blanco County Appraisal District. It's been submitted for a while and for your review and is up for your acceptance.
I move we accept the 2018 financial audit for Blanco County Appraisal District.
Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Leesman, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Unfortunately, because of the times and the reactions to the virus that state, county, and cities are taking, our Blanco County cleanup event that's scheduled for the 18th has been postponed, and this is an informational item for your information and for the information of the public. Commissioner Granberg, did you have any thoughts about, it was scheduled for April the 18th. It's now postponed. Do we have a thought about when we might do it?
Just as soon as we have clearance from this virus situation and all that is no longer an issue. So hopefully, maybe sometime in May. But no, we have not rescheduled a set date yet. We're just.
So the plan is to reschedule it as soon as it's safe to do so.
Yes.
All right. Moving to item 13. There's a proposed budget calendar in your packets. Of course, as always, as I say every year, this is aspirational. There are and is flexible and can be moved depending on the times. With Senate Bill 2 and other fiscal measures by the state kicking in at some point, we need to be flexible, but this would be a starting point like we usually do every year this time of year.
I make a motion to approve the proposed budget calendar for the fiscal year 2020-21.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Eaker, discussion. So I might say that if as we go along, you can see down the road, see in advance that we need to tweak it or make changes. The sooner you advise us, the sooner we can get it on the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item involves the Precinct 1 Constable position, which of course has been vacant for, I don't even know the exact date, but it's been many months. During the fall, the only person to sign up to run for office was Patrick Fisher, a current deputy of the Blanco County Sheriff's Office. And he won because he was unopposed his primary. There is no opponent scheduled in the other party for November, and so he is being put forth to the Commissioners Court for possible appointment. He is also present and at the podium if you have questions of him.
Well, I move we appoint Patrick Fisher to the unexpired term of Precinct 1 Constable, which will expire on 12/31/20.
Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Leisman seconds. Discussion. Mr. Fisher, if you get appointed, when do you think you'll start?
Right away, as soon as I can possibly begin, I would like to.
And you're aware that this appointment actually just applies through December 31st, and you have to win the election in November.
I do.
Since you're a current county employee for the sheriff's office, you will give him ample notice to, for your release, correct?
I already have.
Okay.
In anticipation of this.
Correct.
All right, anything else? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So you'll need to make arrangements to get sworn in and move forward.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You can get them on.
Well, yeah. All right, so item 15 involves the disaster declaration that I signed last week and is up for your review this week.
I make a motion authorizing for the county judge to sign a proclamation extending the current disaster declaration.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Couple of items for discussion. Is Ms. Early available? Ms. Early, we are on item 15, and there has been a motion to extend the current disaster declaration, and it has been seconded. We're in the discussion phase, excuse me. But I wanted to ask you, the draft that's been presented, you and I discussed over the weekend electronically.
Yes.
And was there something, I can't remember now, was there something we wanted to talk about modifying? Do you remember?
I do believe there was, if we're thinking about the same topic, the discussion was about, with regard to what language we may want to include for any kind of bars in the county. Is that the one that we would be?
I think it is.
Okay.
So, for the commissioner's benefit, there's been some question raised by at least one entity in the county about whether or not they are exempted from the governor's order closing restaurants and bars, that it does not, alleging that it doesn't apply to tasting rooms or something similar. Our inquiry of the Texas Alcohol Beverage Commission, Control Commission, says that they've never said that it doesn't apply, and I think they think it does as a licensee of theirs. The thing is that the governor's order closing restaurants and bars ends on March 31st.
That's my understanding as well.
Today's the 24th, so roughly 7 days. A couple of ways of looking at this is if the court wanted to extend it further, you could do it now. If as the order order is presented to you and the motion and second have been made, it would allow me the ability to extend it by further order. And in addition, maybe in a week, the governor might extend it, or he might not. In any case, I'm personally pretty comfortable with it the way it is, but then again, I think the discussion ought to be, and I would really appreciate your input, that as far as Blanco County is concerned, tasting rooms and similar entities are just like bars and fall under the governor's order.
And that is, from my research, that is what I believe. I believe the governor's order does include tasting rooms. There has not been made any exception anywhere in the law, anywhere in any of the code. I would suggest that for Blanco County's purposes, that the language in our disaster declaration could be specific to include all establishments that have wine permits, distilleries, and then any kind of breweries. And so those are the licenses that TABC has issued in this county. And so if we can include all of that, I think it would cover all of the licensed entities who do have tasting rooms in this county. But yes, I do agree with the judge that my interpretation of the law and based on my research, tasting rooms are included in the governor's order saying that dining areas should be closed to the public.
And this is where we kind of disagree and need to get your input. Don't really disagree, but have a different flavor of it, and would like your input because the current Blanco County order requires no more than 10 people in a group and encourages social separation. The current governor's order goes further and closes indoor dining, etc. If the governor's order expires, the Blanco County order still exists that would require social separation. In my view, if the governor's order expires and restaurants can somehow open and operate under the restrictions that exist in the Blanco County order, I'd probably be okay with that. I guess I'm not so sure I would want us closing the restaurants beyond what the governor's office or the state is doing. That's just my original thought. Now, I think Ms. Early kind of doesn't see it that way.
Well, I can see it that way, and if we want that kind of language again, I would like for our declaration to include all of the permit holders, so it's very clear tasting rooms are covered. But I think we can word our declaration to that, for that specific provision to coincide with the governor's order if we so choose. I will say that other entities or other governmental entities, specifically Travis County and the City of Austin, have extended the closure for dining areas until May 1st. I'm not saying that Blanco County needs to do that, but some of those entities have gone ahead and set their own deadlines beyond what the governor's order has done. So I think it's just the preference of Blanco County, but I feel like we can set it contingent on the expiration of the governor's order. That's how I feel about it, unless you disagree, Judge, but I don't see any reason why we can't.
All right, so, but we have an existing order that's under consideration. If Commissioner Eaker's motion could include your modification before executing it, and if Commissioner Leisman's second could include that, then I guess that would give you the ability to alter this document before it's executed.
Yes, to provide that additional language. If
and if not, then we have further discussion.
I think it was Commissioner Weir made the
I'm
motion.
sorry.
And I seconded it.
You're right, my mistake.
So I need to amend my motion to include changes.
Well, if you'll just accept or if you'll modify your motion to accept the changes, we wouldn't go through the amendment process.
Then I would like to do that. I'd like to.
And if Commissioner Eaker second follows suit. All right, further discussion. All in favor? Say aye.
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 All opposed? Next item is the burn ban, which at the moment is the least of our worries, and we are blessed to be getting some moisture. So, and none of our neighbors are presently, neighboring counties are presently under a burn ban. So, that would be your pleasure on that one. And then that takes us to the emergency meeting, also posted for this date, with one item on it. And I believe in your packets you have the justification letter from Sheriff Jackson for the request. Essentially, we have rules in place in our personnel manual that require presently licensed individuals that work at the law enforcement center to take their vacation and or comp time, overtime time within 120 days. As you can see from the letter, the sheriff wants all hands on deck during this disaster, and would like to give them his employees the opportunity to be able to take that time at a later date, past the 120 days. So we would like to suspend that for the time being.
Temporarily suspended.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to temporarily suspend the guidelines set forth here, and for the sheriff's department on the overtime and everything like that. Did I miss anything, Judge?
No, no, you did not. So there's the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Weir seconds. I guess discussion would be the draft order that would follow your motion that we have in our packets does not have an ending time for this suspension. I think it's logical to conclude that when the disaster ends, that's when the
The
suspension.
120 days will start.
Yes, sir.
That was my intention.
Right. That's your intention?
Yes.
That's your second?
Yes.
All right. So it's in the record that way that the suspension of this policy ends when the declaration ends.
Judge, I have a question, if I may.
Please.
This is just for their holiday comp time, correct?
I believe it was asked.
Annual time, if we go in past their annual time, I'd like for them not to lose that too.
Well, but Dawn, their annual time is calendar year. It's January till December.
I understand that. If we go all the way to January, I would expect it to last that long. I don't want to go that long, and I don't foresee it, but I want.
Well, I can understand the holiday comp time because that has a limit of 120 days.
Well,
Wait a minute, time out, because I thought that, are you saying that the vacation time accrual doesn't have 120 day?
No, sir. No, it's calendar year. And once the year ends, they get in, after December 31st, their vacation starts over again, and depending on how long they've been here, they either get 80, 96, or 120 more hours.
On January 1?
Yes, sir. Unless you have not been here a year.
well, my concern is I told them they cannot take off, period, on their scheduled days. So if they lose any time, I expect them, I would like to see them be able to gain that time back whenever the emergency declaration or whatever is over.
Well,
Because they're not allowed vacation, they're not allowed holiday, nothing.
and let me just say, I appreciate that you took that measure. It's tough on people, but the county deserves as much protection as we can give them. So your management that was a great move in my opinion. I think the compromise is that Commissioner Eaker's motion and Commissioner Weir's second be about comp time, and once the disaster has passed, if you're experiencing some kind of difficulty with the vacation time, that we bring that back to the court.
I'm good with that. Yes.
Other discussion. I have kind of a related matter. I think this is great that we're doing this for licensed personnel at the law enforcement center. I think that there are various offices in the county operated by elected officials, and they're having to deal with this disaster in different ways depending on their office. And some folks may be going home or working from home or other things. And while it's not part of this motion and not part of this agenda item, as just a general matter of commentary by the Commissioners Court, I would not really want to see people who are getting sent home because of this, because of the virus and protective measures. I would not like to see them have to utilize sick or vacation leave. Is there anyone that would like to take the other side of that? So is the message that we're sending to elected officials that at least for the 15-day, what do they call it? The 15-day quarantine, lack of a better term, and maybe even a little further, depending on how things go, that elected officials are empowered and encouraged to give administrative leave if somebody has to be off for this situation. Anybody?
Can you elaborate a little bit on this situation? Does that mean that they have symptoms of being sick, or does that mean that they have family members that they have to take care of inside their home?
No, I really meant, I was broader than that. I think that would be the compassionate thing to do, but I'm saying that if an office is only open half a day right now for some reason, that the other half a day isn't charged to the employee, if that's the elected official's decision.
Presently, they're having to use vacation time or whatever.
I don't know that they are.
I don't know, I'm asking.
Yeah, I don't either, because it depends on the office. I'm just wanting, again, because of this extraordinary situation, for employees not to be penalized.
Well, then, are road and bridge personnel considered essential, so that basically they should stay actively doing their normal activities, or as long as they do meet the other guidelines of small groups, not close contact? I mean, are we still operate as normal?
Well, you're asking me, but it's an opinion on my part. It's a decision of the body, I guess. They certainly seem essential when a bridge is out or something bad has happened. And they do have the luxury of open air and separation of space to a large extent. So I would say they're essential, but I certainly would,
I agree.
but the four of you seem like you would have the best viewpoint on that, because they're your employees.
I would say they're essential because we're having people knocking down signs, guardrails, or whatever. They need to be available to do that, and it doesn't matter if the weather's good and they knock down a guardrail. They still need to go back. They need to be out there. So I consider them essential.
All right. Well, back to the motion at hand, which is about licensed personnel at the law enforcement center. And there's a motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Judge, before we adjourn, I would just like to make a statement saying that if there's any extra expense due to the virus, please report all expenses to our county auditor and our county treasurer, and make sure that we collect any information that we're spending on this disaster.
everything else. Well, I guess I would like to thank all the people in this room and really everyone in Blanco County for the way you have handled the situation thus far. It's been completely different. I'll just say that disasters that I've observed, even before working for the county, have all been sort of quantifiable, whether it was a hurricane or a tornado or a flood or even some sort of a different kind of a virus. But this thing is so unusual that it's caused us to think out of the box a lot, and we appreciate everybody's assistance that they've given thus far, and I feel confident that we will get through the other side of this in short order.
And could you give us a quick update on our one virus person? We do have one case tested, one case and one person tested positive.
Correct.
In Blanco County.
Correct. It was travel related, so it has not been by community spread. And that person and that person's contacts are all quarantined, self-quarantined. Our infectious disease control officer believes that it is under control.
Good.
In fact, they're not the only self-quarantining people in the county. There are others who have not tested positive, but are taking the precautions. And that's kind of takes us back to what I was saying, thanking people, because people have been acting responsibly and taking measures to keep the rest of us safe by self-quarantining. And as you can see, we've been doing our best to exercise social separation and follow the rules. What else?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? Mr. Gramberg, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.